The content of the Tandem radio program and website is intended for general information purposes only. It's not designed to provide listeners with specific and personal financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or other advice. The views expressed by show hosts, their guests, and callers are their own and should not be construed in any way as opinions of Tandem Radio or the Bridge FM network.
Here we go! You guide me with your counsel, and afterward you will take me into glory, says Psalm 73:24. Good morning, and welcome to Tandem Radio on the Bridge FM network of radio stations. Also broadcasting live on tandemradio.com, where you can listen anytime. And we're always excited to have people listening not only to the FM broadcast, but also online, because they can listen anywhere in the globe. And we get emails from people from various places, and it's always exciting to see how far God's reach goes out. You're listening to the good news on business, which is what the theme is of Tandem Radio and what we're all about here. And we basically have two goals of every show. One is to point folks to realize that Scripture is filled with business advice and help you realize that God's Word not only is impactful for your personal life and your church life, but also your business life. God wants to be in every aspect of your life, and the Bible is just the place to go for answers, including business answers. And of course, our second goal is to bring you valuable information that you can take to work Monday morning and actually use in your business. So we have different guests in each week that help us bring up topics that are of value to you in your business, and practical value that you can actually take to work and use with you. And as we do each week, we start off with scriptures, and then we dig into what our guest is all about. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, my name's Glenn DeLakin, the host of Tandem Radio. We've been cranking out here for almost 2 years now and having some great times and delivering some messages in reference to your businesses, which is my passion. My pastor always tells me business is my ministry, and I have an extensive background in business, buying and selling companies and developing businesses and running a few now myself. So it allows me to take some of these scriptures and give it to some real practical and relative experience and show you how it's happened for us and for the guest. And it seems to all come together because it's all about God, and He makes it happen. Our guest today is Rich Lynn, who is the president and founder of Forward Internet Solutions, and the topic today is Web Development Insights. Now, you may have heard about websites before and all that, but Rich has got some unique insights into web development, and I know it's going to be a benefit to you and your business. So, as we do each week, let's get to the scriptures, and then we'll get to our guest. First scripture for today is Proverbs 16:6. How much better to get wisdom than gold, to get insight rather than silver. Ecclesiastes 12:9. Not only was the teacher wise, but he also imparted knowledge to the people. And then lastly, 1 Timothy 2:7. And for this purpose I was appointed a herald and an apostle. I am telling the truth. I am not lying, and a true and faithful teacher of the Gentiles. Again, we're excited about having our guest today, Rich Lynn, who has some very unique insights into web development. He's the president and founder of Forward Internet Solutions. Rich, we want to welcome you this morning. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Glenn. Honored to be here.
It's good to have you. And I know you do a fair amount of work with Tandem and some of my other companies, and it's exciting to have you here and be able to impart your wisdom to so many in our audience that I know everybody can use extra help and unique information on web development for sure. So, Rich, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I was born in New York City, and I moved to New Jersey when I was very young, probably when I was 4. It's been a long time. And raised here and went to school here in central New Jersey, in Hillsborough, and went to Rutgers University. I studied mechanical engineering and got my bachelor's degree in engineering. And actually straight out of college, I felt God calling me to go into college ministry. So I was involved with crew for all my years in college, and I continued to do that after school, and just mentoring college students and discipling them, helping them to run their organizations, to learn how to share their faith, and develop leaders. And I did that for 3.5 years, and I had always dreamed of running a business. I had various ideas throughout my life, and I was exploring different options, and I felt that it was time to make the jump. And after some research, and I had, background in web. It was kind of a hobby. Friends teaching me how to do it. Websites were fairly new, and decided, I've been doing it on the side, and let's make it a business.
There you go. Good for
Here we
you.
are.
Well, let's talk about Campus Crusade, because right out of college you jumped into Campus Crusade for Christ, which is now called Crew, where they're changing over to Crew.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that. Obviously you felt God's call on you for that.
I saw just how much the Crew impacted my life in college. I grew up as a Christian and went to church, and the Crew really put wheels on my faith. Made me, the leaders there taught me, more effective ways to communicate the gospel, and they gave me confidence in doing that, and also in leadership and in talking with people and really living out my faith. And I wanted to continue that. I thought that I would, in a way, tithe a few years of my career to the Lord and see what He would do. And it was an amazing experience. I got to meet a lot of great students and hopefully help them to be able to walk with Christ for their whole life. So.
And you're still involved with Campus Crusade now a little bit.
A little bit. I keep up to date with what they're doing on campus. I have a lot of friends who are still on staff, support them financially and through prayer. So.
Good for you. Good for you. Now, of course, we're here to talk about web development today, and you mentioned you were a mechanical engineer. So how did you get from mechanical engineering into web development?
Well, like I said, web was always part of my life since high school, just on the side. Engineering was, I guess, something I had interest in academically, and going through and learning it, and I learned a lot, and I had some internships. I worked in the field for a little bit, and it wasn't something that I felt like I would pursue in my life. And I always had that interest in web and the internet, and I felt the pull there more. I had more passion for that than engineering.
Now, did you have any formal training on web development?
No, I did not. It was I read a lot. Through experience, I did a lot of projects. Before I started my business, I did a lot of projects for both Crew and for people I knew, and through that, gained experience. I talked to a lot of people who were more knowledgeable than me, and that's always a good way to learn. And they taught me a lot, and through mistakes, I learned everything, and still learning. The world of web just changes so quickly.
Right.
Every year or every month, it seems like there's something new or different trend coming out. So still learning, and I'm anticipating on learning throughout the rest of my career. So,
right.
As we all should.
Well, exactly, and obviously with web, you always have to be on the cutting edge, or else you could fall behind pretty quick. I know your website's pretty impressive, and it has plenty of portfolio things on there of other sites you've done, and I know that kind of jumps out at people. So, as they say, the proof is in the pudding, right?
Right.
All right, so you got into web development, you started your own business. You said you had a passion for this. You had a dream that you always wanted to own your own business. Tell us more about that.
When I first when I was in college, actually, I thought of an idea. At that time, high-speed internet was just new, and students were scrambling. When they got on campus, they didn't bring network cables with them, so they would go to the Rutgers school, I guess, technology store at the time to buy cables, and they were outrageously expensive. They knew students were going to buy them, and they took advantage of that, basically. So I went online, and I tried to find a cheaper. I bought a bulk, and then I got the shipment in, and I started selling them for a lot less. Oh, okay. And so things like that, I always thought about that, had those ideas in my head, and it always business was always kind of a thought in the back of my head. I never so.
Was it difficult for you to make the leap? I mean, obviously you're working for Campus Crusade, in essence a company, right? And you're getting a salary and whatever. and obviously you have to take this leap of faith, because when you jump into your own business, there's no money there until you make it work, right? So was that how did that transition happen for you?
It was a challenge. I mean, with Crew, they gave us a lot of freedom on setting our schedules. There were some items that were set, and others they gave us a lot of freedom to work within that. So I think that helped, being able to work without having a rigid schedule. In terms of finances, I think with any business, there's that risk. And I did a lot of research, and my wife and I, at the time, we didn't have any children. We worked out our finances, and we committed to prayer. We prayed a lot, and we really felt that it was the right time, and we took that risk on. And actually, what happened when about a month after we started to establish the company, the economy went down, 2007. And so God gave me the challenge of trying to lift this company up, take off in a down economy. And so that was actually very humbling. Luckily, we were blessed to have support of family financially, and they were always very supportive. And so God provided for us. And sometimes it was tight, and I'm sure a lot of business people out there know there are times where you felt like it's time to give up.
Right, exactly. Well, I've always found that where God guides, God provides, and that's great to hear. And when He puts something on your heart, if you're faithful to follow up with it and go after it, God will show a way. Sometimes it takes perseverance, and there's things that God wants to adjust in your life and shape you and mold you. So business owners out there, I want to encourage you, if you're one of those people like Rich who just took that leap of faith, stay in there. It's in God's will for you to be successful in business. It's going to take some time. Look what happened with David. He was anointed king. It took him 17 years to ascend to the throne. So keep that in mind. You're listening to Tandem Radio Live. This is your host, Glenn DeLake, here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Broadcasting not only on FM, but on tandemradio.com. We encourage you to go to tandemradio.com and send in your questions, by the way, at info@tandemradio.com. We'll be glad to answer your questions. We'll pray for your business, and we'll do our best to help you to get some advice that will direct you and guide you. We'll be back right after these words.
One, cut. Hi, my name is Cooper Ford from Tandem Radio, the good news on business. I want to thank you for joining us for this episode. Hopefully you've been getting some fantastic insights from Glenn and our featured guest. While we're taking this break, I want to introduce you to our website at tandemradio.com, where there's a wealth of information focusing on bringing Christian principles into the business world. First of all, we have some of our other archive shows that are on there, where you can see some of our past guests and listen to their shows. Second, we also have Ask Tandem, which is our shorter video segments focusing on specific questions related to faith and the workplace. And finally, we have our sponsors, like-minded businesses and professionals who not only share our mission, but also who want to serve you. So check it all out at tandemradio.com. If you want to get in touch with us, you can also email us at info@tandemradio.com. That's info@tandemradio.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. So thanks again for joining us, and let's get back to Glenn and the show. God bless.
Well, welcome back to Tandem Radio. This is Glenn DeLake, your host. We have with us in the studio today Rich Lynn, who's the president and founder of Forward Internet Solutions, and we're talking about web development insights and what's unique about the websites and what's coming up, and we have a lot of good things to talk about. This is such a broad topic, and if you're a business owner out there listening, you go, oh, I already have a website, or maybe you're a new business owner and you don't have a website. You really need to stay tuned in. Maybe you want to get a pen and pencil out, and take some notes, because Rich has a lot of good insights, and we're going to drill down a little bit into that right now and talk about web development and where it's going and so forth. So, Rich, let's start with websites in general. Obviously, you were intrigued by websites. You learned, you were self-taught. You went out there, and then you did some of them, right? Mm-hmm. And you learned that way, and I know that kind of experience is just so valuable. You see people getting formal education, and they come out and they still have to go through that same process because they're stumbling and whatever.
Right.
So I think it's your experience that has attracted me to working with you, and I and also the results. I see some great results in what you do. So let's talk general about websites. First off, how important is a website to be flashy or glitzy, as opposed to the content? I know with me, like one of my pet peeves is like when I click on a website and it's got music going and there's so much motion on there. I'm like, I'm just trying to get some information, right? Is that odd or is that the norm? I mean, what do you think about that?
It really depends on your business or your organization. If you are a law firm, flash and glitz and sound and movement might not be as important, but you want to look for professional. If it's a website, if it's an organization, if you do a lot of events, if you're a high-end limo company or a wedding planner or something like that, flash is good, or flashy, glitzy, motion, sound. Those are good things. But it really depends. You want to portray. You want to best communicate your business, and if your business is catering towards some high-end, if you want to generate excitement about certain products or certain services, then that is important. But for the most part, if you're a contractor, if your business isn't flashy, then it might not work for you to do that. Most of the time I advise my clients, even more important than movement or sound or music. I actually discourage music. It really depends on your business again. I encourage them to have good pictures, great pictures, photographs, something that will communicate their business graphically. That might, a lot of times you go to sites and it's just heavy with text. And I encourage them to get pictures and make them big, and then use that to communicate and keep the text down. Text is still important, content is important, but when people get to your site, you don't want them to have to read. The first thing they don't want to do is read. They want to see what your site, what your business is about, and photographs, good photographs are a good way to communicate that. And then, you have your content. They'll be drawn to the graphics first, visuals first, and then they'll get into the meat of the site.
Well, I think that's the key. I mean, drawing them in, and again, if your website's just plain Jane with just content on, verbiage, then people are not likely to spend some time with them.
Right.
And I love what you said about music, because I'm always shocked how many of these websites out there you click on and the music comes on like right away. And I know that's got to be annoying for people, especially when you're traversing through other pages and then you come back to the home page and music starts playing again.
I have, most of the times I discourage it, but a few times some clients have said, I really want music, and we put it on, but important thing, if you do that, you always have to have a way to turn it off and make it clear where to turn it off.
Right.
Because you don't want them to spend the first 10 seconds trying to figure out how to turn that music off on the site.
Right.
They'll leave. So if you're going to do it, make sure it's at a reasonable volume. There's you can set that, and also make it clear, how do you turn this music off? Make it a big button. Right. Some way to really tell them, you can silence the site this way.
That's it. Now, when you develop a website, are you working with like graphic people as well, or are you doing the whole package?
It depends on the project, the size of the project. I do have graphic designers, I have developers that I work with, and we collaborate depending on the project. If it's smaller and it's something that can be done quickly for a smaller business, I usually take the reins. If it's a larger, more complex site, I bring in people on my team to help me with that. So,
well, the look of the site is obviously important. I mean, I've heard statistics all over the place of anywhere from 3 to 7 seconds people have to sum you up. When they look at your website, because they're ready to click off the page, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have some type of visual statement that draws them in to say, hey, let me click to the next page, right?
Yeah, visual statement. The home page, you have to look at the home page as a funnel. You have to, you can't just spill out everything about your business on the front page. You want to highlight the main selling points of your services, your business, and then you want to entice them to click on them. So if you don't want to list everything that you do on the front, you want to try to categorize it a little and move them towards some of the interior pages. So you have the visual, the graphic to keep them engaged, and then you have to organize your site in a way where you're funneling them to the right place, the right service that they're looking for.
Right. And I want to talk about costs of websites a little bit. I mean, I tell people all the time, with a website, it can't look cheap, because if it does, you turn people off right away. And I've heard a statistic, and maybe it's the number's even higher, I would guess, but they say 88% of people will Google you before they'll do business with you. So
right.
Even if they've met you, like a lot of times with me, when I'm going on an appointment, I'll Google the person's name just to see if I can find out anything about the person before I meet with them, because it gives me a heads up on who the person might be or how I might be able to present myself better. So if people are Googling, and obviously they're finding your website, hopefully, and they get there and it's got this cheap look, you blew it. I mean, because it cheapens your whole business. But let me ask you this in that respect. Do people need to spend like lots of money to make a website look good? I mean, you take Google and Facebook and as an example, and you say these people spend millions of dollars on these websites. I mean, I've been in consulting situations where guys look at me and say, $2,500 for a website, you're a nut, And I'm like, what are you talking about? I know people who spend $50,000 on a website. But do you really, to have, let's talk to the new business owner. Do you have to spend a ton of money to have an effective website?
No. There's a difference between looking cheap and being affordable.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I would talk to some people that approach me, and they have they really don't have much of a budget. I tell them there are actually free ways to build a site. It might not look the greatest, but if you don't have the money to spend on it, you can build something and make it look neat and organized and still professional. Keep it simple. Don't try to make it crazy.
Right.
And if you have some money, I always recommend that they put it towards online marketing. You spend some money on the site. You don't have to go crazy if you don't have a big budget. You don't have to get the high-end website, and then put some money aside for online marketing, because you can spend a ton of money on the site to make it look amazing, but then how are you going to drive traffic to it? So there's got to be a balance, and again, it depends on your budget and the kind of business you're in. I like to, when I approach clients and I talk to clients, there's really no set formula. I learn about their business. I see what their needs are. I learn about what their service, what their product is. Look at their budget, and I make recommendations. So you can have a professional site without spending thousands and thousands of dollars. And I always say, keep it simple. You want to communicate clearly what you do, and why they should work with you, or why they should purchase your product, and then go from there.
Well, like you mentioned, keep it simple, and when I think of keep it simple, I think of Google. Right? I mean, look at their homepage.
Right.
You land on Google, blank. It's a blank white screen, right, with a little box in the middle. And they've only recently started to kind of jazz that up a little bit, but even that, they're keeping it very simple, and that's their motif. I mean, that's really where they want to go. You mentioned not having to spend big money, but looking good. Do you think that? Well, I want to just say that basically, I like what you had said about asking people questions, finding out what they're trying to achieve. And it's important to the listeners to know, if you're out there looking for a website, if your developer is not asking you those questions, if they're not getting the feel from you, you need to find a new developer, right? I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Right. Websites and your business are closely tied. I mean, your website and anything you do online is your main point of contact for anyone on the internet. So, a developer designer comes in, they have to learn about your business. They have to learn about your goals, and build a site or come up with a plan online that will help you reach those. So we can't just, the developer can't just come in and kind of get an idea of what you want the site to look like, what do you want on it, and then not talk to you for a couple of weeks and then present you with a site.
Right.
So it's very important to make sure that it's effective.
Right. Well, we have a lot more to talk about with Rich Lynn today, and the topic is, of course, website development and insights into website development, and there's so many unique aspects of that. You're listening to Tandem Radio Live. We're going to be back in a minute with a lot more information. We have so much to cover. We may even have to take this into another show, Rich, and have you back in the studio another time. But tandemradio.com, you got to take a look at the website there, and it's filled with information. There's archived shows, so you can see, actually watch the videos of what we're doing, and you can get information on our sponsors and just some direct information about business development and so much more. You get some insights on our network group, the Tandem Pest Network group, and much, much more. So stay tuned. We have a lot more for you right after these messages. Welcome back to Tandem Radio Live. This is your host, Glenn DeLake. And again, the good news on business. Let's just touch on our scriptures again for today. Proverbs 16:16. How much better to get wisdom than gold, to get insight rather than silver. And we're giving you insights today, that's for sure. Ecclesiastes 12:9. Not only was the teacher wise, but he also imparted knowledge to the people. It's so important that you find not only a teacher who knows his stuff, but can also share that information with you. And then 1 Timothy 2:7. And for this purpose, I was appointed a herald and an apostle. I am telling you the truth, I'm not lying, and a true and faithful teacher of the Gentiles. Of course, Paul telling Timothy a little bit about his credentials, and it's so important to realize that we need to go out there and herald our information and let people know that we're not lying, that we're telling truth, that we're being faithful as we go out and teach others about ourselves and about our businesses. Again, welcome to Tandem Radio. We're here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and talking about the good news on business. Today's topic is website development insights, and we have who I can honestly say is an expert in that field, Rich Lynn, who's the president and founder of Forward Internet Solutions. And you can find his website at Forward Internet Solutions, or you can go on tandemradio.com and get to the link for Forward Internet Solutions and find out more about Rich. So, Rich, let's get back into the topic because we have, again, just so much to cover in this area. We were just talking about some basics, right? Getting companies who are just starting up and spending some money on websites and where to go with that. And I know you pointed out that you should spend a little on the website and a little on, SEO and other things like that, which we could talk about later. And you talked about keeping it simple, which I think is so important. What about the company that's already out there and has a website and is a little more advanced, been experimenting for years? Where do you take somebody like that? What's the next step for them?
For companies that already have sites, especially if they've been up for many years, it's really at that point establishing what works and what doesn't. And you have to analyze, you have to track how the site performs. There are a lot of tools that can do that, Google Analytics being one of them. There are also tools where they're called heat maps, where you can actually see, follow, it records the actions of a visitor. So it shows your site, it shows where people are putting their mouse, where they're looking, or usually they look where they point their mouse, where they're clicking. And you just want to optimize how the site performs. And if you notice something that doesn't work, maybe you may want to move it around a little. There are actually ways where you can serve different pages. You could test out different pages. So if you come up with a new layout, a new design, you can actually serve that new design to a certain percentage of visitors, and then you can track how well that new design, that new layout performs versus their previous one. And so it's easy to get complacent.
Right.
If your site's been up for a long time and it works, there are definitely ways to take it to the next level. You can never really stop improving, especially with how often even design trends change. Every few years you want to have someone outside the company come in and look at your site and give their opinion, because in those 2, 3 years, 4 years, 4 years is actually a very long time in web. A lot of things could have changed. Technologies could have changed. Even with iPad and iPhone and all the mobile browsers now.
Right.
You want to take a look at your site on those platforms and make sure they're working and that they're effective.
Yeah, I think that's so important, Rich. I'm glad you said that, because there are websites that get stale out there. I mean, I see it a lot, especially in niche industries, you know, where they have, you know, a small group of businesses or smaller types of businesses. They tend to, you know, develop a website and leave it alone.
Right.
You know? And you look at it and you can really tell they must have done that site 10 years ago. You know? And what does that tell you about the company? I mean, if they're not concerned about their website, what else are they slacking off on? You know, so I think that's very important. I'm glad you brought that point out. And I also think it's important not only from a look standpoint, but like you said, there's all types of new technologies that are always developing and things are changing and so forth. And if you have a business out there and you have a website that you even developed a year ago and you haven't really brushed it up a little bit, that's where you call someone like Rich and connect with him to help him come in. And again, what's interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Rich, but people like yourself will probably come in and take a first look for free, right?
Yeah, no, I don't charge for initial consultations or evaluations.
So there you go. If you have a website and you haven't dusted it off in a while, you need to call somebody like Rich in and let them take a look and give you a checkup and see if there's something more that they can be doing to advance your business and advance your website. And it is the type of thing that you may be thinking, well, I spent a couple of $1,000s 3 years ago. Hey, you're missing out. You better get back into the swing of this because look at your technology that you use. You know, how many of us, our phone a year ago was totally different from the phone we use today. Moving along in that vein, what about, let's talk directly to the meat of businesses. What is the main, just give me 2, maybe 3 of the main reasons why businesses should have, I think that most people know they should have a website, but should have a good website.
It's all about staying up with the times. It's all about having a presence that anyone can access at any time. There's really, most people know that there's really no tool in business like the internet. It's accessible, it's fast, especially now with mobile. People can literally get to your business anywhere, and then with everything else you're doing online with social media, it's an essential part of your business. And with any essential part of the business, you have to treat it as such. And you have to make sure that it looks, it's accurate, it presents your business in the right way, and it communicates about your product, about your service, about yourself, and that it actually helps. It actually is a part of bringing in new clients, new customers, and it's that it's presenting the right information to the world. It's a billboard to the world that everyone can see at any time.
Right. And I think we need to make the point that it's important to invest in that on a regular basis, not only to, from a standpoint of keeping it up to date, but also looking to see how effective it is. What are the results? Are the results going up and down? Are there new things that other people are using? I know when people ask me about web development, the first thing I tell them to do is look at other sites of competitors of yours that are doing things in your industry and see what they're using and see what works and what may not work or what impresses you and what doesn't impress you. And keep that in mind. And I also like to tell people to get a pair of fresh eyes on it.
Yes.
I often, like especially with our newest employee, whenever we hire a new employee, one of the assignments I give them is I'd like you to review our entire website and give me your comments. That way we get feedback from somebody who's fresh, who hasn't looked at it 50 times or 100 times in the last week. And,
even from our development perspective, when I'm working on the site or my team's working on it, it's sometimes you're so close to it you can't see some of the you kind of get attached to it, you get close to the design, the layout, and then you need someone that's outside of that circle that hasn't looked at the site a few hundred times to give you fresh eyes. So even from a development perspective, that's important. So as a business owner, that's good advice.
Let's talk real quick about some website development, some new stuff and technologies, whatever that's out there. We don't have a lot of time before the break. We'll come back in the next segment and finish up on this. But give me, throw out a few things that you think are new and exciting in web development.
One thing, it's fairly new and is constantly changing, is with tablets. like I mentioned before, mobile phones, smartphones, iPhone, Android, these mobile browsers. That is one of the largest changes in the past couple of years. With the usage of mobile, it's another aspect of development and website development that you have to look at. As more and more people get smartphones, they're using it. A lot of people are even using it as their main source. Right. So that's something you have to look at. And also with Apple and their whole issue with not supporting Flash. Flash being, a lot of times you see on websites, you see a lot of movement, animations, videos. With Apple and iPad and iPhone not supporting that, Flash was very popular. Still pretty popular, but with these new devices and them not being compatible, you have to go back to your site and say, how is my site showing on the iPhone, on the iPad? Because a lot of people are using that to view your site. So if you have a video, you want to make sure it plays on the iPad. If you have if your whole site is Flash, well, it is time to change because there will be a lot of people that will not be able to access your website at all.
Well, I think this mobile aspect is so important, and a lot of people take for granted where this is going. And there are many websites that I know I go to access on my mobile device, and I can't read them, or they're too small, the print's crazy, or I can't navigate. So people have to realize that it's a whole different platform, and you actually have to design your website, if I'm not mistaken. I don't mean to be taking up your position, but if I'm not mistaken, you have to actually design the site specifically to fit mobile applications, correct?
There are multiple ways to go about that, to approach that. That's exactly one way. You can design and build a site so that it can conform to clear screen or smaller screen.
We're going to come back to more of that. I know there's a lot more to talk on that topic, but that's okay. We're coming up on a break. So we're here with Rich Lynn this morning, talking about website development and some of the insights. And we're at Tandem Radio, tandemradio.com. It's just a powerful resource there of all types of information on your device, your websites, and shows, news articles I've written on business columns I've written, business owners, so much more. And we'd love to hear from you. INFO at tandemradio.com. Info at tandemradio.com. Send us your questions. We'll do our best to help. Well, welcome back to Tandem Radio Live. This is your host, Glenn DeLakian, here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I like to say that because we have listeners from around the country and in some cases around the globe. We love to hear from you. I know there's a Bridge app that you can get for your Droid or for your iPhone that you can listen to the Bridge FM anywhere on the globe. And, of course, at tandemradio.com, you can listen to the show live and even send us your requests and questions. Info at tandemradio.com is the email, info at tandemradio.com. And, of course, we'd love to hear from you, and we'll do our best to help you and answer those questions. But so no matter what time zone you're in, you can check out Tandem Radio Live. And we're here today with Rich Lynn, who is an expert in the website development industry. And he is the owner and founder of ForwardNet Solutions. And we're talking today about web development insight. Now, Rich, we were talking about, before the break, about some new things, and we were hitting on tablets and mobile. And I think it's so important for people to realize that just because you have a website out there doesn't mean it shows up on your tablet, and doesn't even mean that it looks good on your mobile. And that's where people are trending to go, as you mentioned. So if you haven't updated your website in the last year, you're probably missing out on that, right?
Right.
So you definitely need to look at that. But what other thoughts do you have either on that or other new developments out there in website development?
It's another thing is social media. In integrating your website and your website strategy with what you're doing in these social media circles, with Facebook, with Twitter, with LinkedIn, and putting and allowing people to interact with you and your business in those social media circles and your website. There has to be a lot of integration there. So using that and going back to designing for mobile, I mentioned designing a site so that it fits both large and small screens, having that fluid, having the site be able to conform. Other ways are to even create a design specifically for mobile devices, and then there's ways to detect what the user is using, and then show them the design, the layout for their specific platform. So there's a few ways to go about it, and you just have to find the right solution for your site.
Well, I think the key is, again, that we need as business owners to bring in people with your level of expertise to take a look at what we're doing, especially since an initial consultation could be free. If they bring you in and learn about these new developments, or even get some insights and ideas from you one-on-one with their website or whatever technology they're using, it can help them immensely. And again, this is a fluid way of marketing, and if you're not on top of it on a regular basis, it starts to slip away from you pretty quick. So business owners, make sure you take a good look at this. Now, we've been talking about website development and of course, a little bit about your business, your starting crew, and how you transitioned into your own business and your time in school. Let me ask you this, Rich. Let's throw this right in there, because I like to throw Jesus Christ right in the middle of everything I do. How has your faith in Jesus impacted your business?
It's really set a foundation of customer service, because God calls us to be followers of Him, and in that there's honesty and there's integrity, and then Jesus saying let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Right.
That those things really if you believe in those things, they help you when you're interacting with customers, because you want to make sure you deliver on what you promise them. And that's something I always strive to do, and being honest with them. And there's a lot of stories of people being burned by their developer, their designer, where they take the deposit and they run, and they don't see them again.
Right.
There's stories.
I've heard a few of those. Yeah.
The final product just being not up to what they promised, and then no effort to correct that. And so it's really helped me in interacting with clients to set to manage expectations, but also deliver on what I promised them, and making sure that they are satisfied, and that the site and whatever service that they're getting is ultimately going to affect and improve their business.
And I think that ties in right well to one of our scriptures today, 1 Timothy 2:7. And for this purpose I was appointed a herald and an apostle. I am telling the truth, I am not lying, and a true and faithful teacher of the Gentiles. It's so important to be truthful in all that you do, and I'm glad to see that Christ is involved in what you do on a daily basis. Along those lines, and thinking of integrity, are there situations that you come across where there's businesses who you just feel you can't do a site for?
Well,
and you don't have to be specific.
Right. The big thing is if a business hasn't set aside a budget. Really, as much as I would like to work for free, and I consult for free, but ultimately the work done can't be for free. And if we want to spend the time, the quality, and attention to a project, we can't do that for free. So in those cases, I try to help them out as much as I can. I answer their questions. I give them suggestions, and even suggestions for some tools that they can use that don't cost very much, but that can still help them. But in terms of actually getting our hands dirty and producing and doing a project, really those are the only instances where I say, I can't help you. Yeah, you have to have a marketing budget, and you have to budget for web and for online. So.
Okay. And one of the scriptures here for today, the Ecclesiastes scripture, 12:9, not only was the teacher wise, but he also imparted knowledge to the people. I think this speaks almost in your business to interactive communication. I wanted to make it clear that, again, Solomon, full of wisdom, saying, not only to teach you to be wise. If you have a website out there, a business website, I'd like you to comment on this real quick, Rich. If you have a website out there and it's all about me, and all it does, not Glenn Blake, but euphoric. So if it's all about your business and that's all it is, what about the person who's watching? It's great to show how good you are and how wise you are, but what are you giving back? What are you imparting in knowledge to people in your website? And I think that's so important that when someone lands on your page, what are they getting out of it? I think is what you have to look at as a business professional. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, your website is a sales tool. And, if you're a salesman and you go in to a meeting and you just keep talking about yourself and how great you are, how great your service is, that's not going to get you too far. So, you want to make sure your website communicates how are you going to solve, their business problems, or how are you going to help them. Mm-hmm. And you want to be able to answer questions that, in your industry, that, you want to answer questions for your potential clients. Mm-hmm. And you want to make sure that to present yourself as the person that will meet their needs. And so, selling yourself and selling your business is very important, but you want to be able to establish, how can you help them, and make sure your site communicates that.
It reminds you of the old adage, it's not how much you know. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
And again, if your website is something where it's just all about you and your business, and it doesn't offer something that they can utilize or benefit from for free, by the way, then you're really missing the boat, and you're not going to drive people into your site to dig deeper. What about blogs, real quick? Where do they fit in on these websites?
Again, that depends on your business, but if you're going to do a blog, if you're going to write content on your site, you just have to make sure that you do it.
Mm-hmm. That it's fresh.
Yeah, that if you go to a blog and the entry is over a year old, then it's not really a blog; it's just a page. So, it's good to have them, but you want to plan out, in advance. What are you going to put on here? What kind of useful content, or what are you going to communicate in this blog, and plan it out in advance so it doesn't get stale. It doesn't just sit there. So they're good. You want to make sure it's useful. You want to make sure it's updated. If you're gonna make the jump and do it, those are the two things I would say.
Well, Rich, I want to tell you thank you for coming in today. We're right at the back of the end of our last segment, and it's amazing how fast the time flies, and we appreciate all your insights.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No problem. You're listening to Tandem Radio Live, and again, tandemradio.com. You need to check it out. You'll get a link there to Rich Lynn and his business there, and find out more about how to get in touch with him. And feel free to contact him and ask him questions about your website, and he can take a look and certainly make you some recommendations. ForwardInternetSolutions.com is his website. It's the name of the company as well. But we're going to run, but we're here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you the good news on business. And our goal is to help you not only see God's Word as a way to benefit you as wisdom-wise from your business, but also to bring you some insights and some valuable information. And we know we've done that today, especially on website development. Lots more coming up in the weeks ahead, so make sure you tune in. And after the show, again, check out tandemradio.com. We got some great information there and some powerful tools that'll help you. I want to thank Allie for today, for our producer. I want to thank Cooper for doing engineering, and Lucas for being in the studio today. And I want to thank our guest, Richard Lynn, for being with us. You have a blessed weekend, and be prosperous and successful in your business. God loves you. He wants to be in every part of your life.
You've been listening to The Good News on Business, a Tandem Radio live broadcast heard here on the Bridge FM radio network and streaming at tandemradio.com. Don't forget to join us every Saturday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and call us and email us with your questions, because we'd love to hear from you. You can also visit our website for the latest blogs from Peter and Glenn, along with other information about upcoming guests, events, and business opportunities. I'm Kevin Reeves, and from everyone at Tandem Radio, we hope that you have a blessed week, and remember, walk with the Lord every day, in every way.